Pluto is this planet way out there that used to be part of our solar system's main planets, but some smart folks like Neil deGrasse Tyson made a big deal about it. They said Pluto might get super close to Neptune, so how could that even happen? And what if those two actually bump into each other? Is it a total disaster waiting to happen, or is there more to the story? Pluto is now called a dwarf planet because its orbit is kind of weird. Recent studies show Pluto gets pretty darn close to Neptune's path. Tyson and another expert, Kaku, are warning us about a crash that could be bad for Earth. Pluto's path around the Sun is not like other planets, taking about 248 years to finish one trip. It hasn't even made a full circle since we found it in 1930. Plus, Pluto's orbit is oddly shaped, not like the almost round paths of the other planets. It's also tilted, which makes things even stranger. Here's a crazy thing: Pluto gets closer to the Sun than Neptune for about 20 years of its orbit, so why haven't they crashed? Other planets' gravity keeps them apart. People started studying Pluto's orbit right after we saw it. The path was weird with its angle and shape. It also crosses Neptune's path. It seems like space is super mixed up. The way these objects pull on each other with gravity is like trying to guess where they'll go. Three things such as Pluto, Neptune, and the Sun are moving, living in space, and influencing each other with gravity. For Pluto, this shows how its orbit, Neptune's, and the Sun are all working together. Basically, when Pluto crosses Neptune's orbit, it's far enough away that they won't hit. Also, Pluto moves up and down in its orbit, so when it's close to Neptune, it's above Neptune's path. Another thing is how these objects pull on each other. Even if Pluto's orbit looks crazy, this keeps it going smoothly. These rules keep Pluto's orbit stable so it doesn't run into Neptune. Understanding this helps us learn about Pluto, our solar system, and even stars in other places. Back in the 80s, some math guys figured out Pluto's orbit could still be a little chaotic. However, these strange orbits keep things stable. Other computer models show that big planets like Neptune, Jupiter, and Saturn help Pluto's path. Neptune and Pluto have a sort of deal where Neptune goes around the Sun 3 times for every one of Pluto's orbits. This keeps Pluto steady. Jupiter's gravity helps too, and so does Saturn's. It looks like these planets are working together to keep Pluto safe. Without these things, our solar system would be nuts. Things could crash, or planets could get thrown out of their paths. So it's good to know about Pluto's orbit, especially when people talk about it hitting Neptune. Even a wild orbit can stay steady because of gravity and how planets move. We should keep watching and learning about these things. Space is weird. Pluto's orbit shows that even small changes can make a big difference in where Pluto ends up. Pluto's surface is also odd. It has ice, rock, and other stuff. A probe flew by Pluto in 2015 and sent back cool pictures. Pluto has plains, mountains, and valleys. One spot shaped like a heart is made of nitrogen ice. There are also ice shelves and things that look like glaciers, so Pluto might still be changing even though it's super cold and far away. Pluto's air is mostly nitrogen with a little methane and carbon monoxide. It's thin, but the seasons change it. When Pluto gets closer to the Sun, the air gets thicker. When it's farther away, the air freezes. Pluto's moon Charon is also huge. Compared to Pluto, they go around a spot in space between them. The Kuiper Belt is full of tiny icy things. Pluto's orbit tells us how these things formed. Talking with the other big planets could have changed their routes. Learning about Pluto's orbit helps us understand the solar system's past. Planets like Jupiter and Neptune can move smaller objects around. Studying these things helps us learn about space. The decision to call Pluto a dwarf planet made people think what a planet really means. So Pluto and Neptune's Orbits show how crazy space is and how important it is to keep learning about it. Now get ready for the next load. Even though Pluto's orbit looks chaotic, it is these forces and how they work together that make it remain still. But how and why? One important thing about Pluto and Neptune is that the orbits will be the same long term even if they get close, thanks to a 3:2 ratio, as Neptune travels around the Sun 3 times Pluto travels around the Sun 2. This ration keeps them safe from bumping into each other even if fear travels happen to cross. That means from stability that is provided by this orbit, the two bodies move safely around the Sun as the orbits are far away. A collision is close to impossible. Additional study into the Kuiper Belt will prove that Pluto is not alone, as most of these planets are thought to have orbits due to Neptune and Pluto being in a 3:2 ration. All of this together underscores how important Neptune and gravity play a huge role in safety for moving objects in the outer part of the solar system. Looking to the stars, planetary migration played a huge role in how each planet orbits. Migration can be compared to when the planets rotate over millions of years as they interact. Rotating disk Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune are all believed to have been migrating as they are thought be shifting, which plays a huge role in impacting others' small planets. Neptune is an important factor in how the Kuiper Belt is configured, which clears spaces for other planets such as Pluto to safety travel. These actions have shaped how all things in the solar rotate today. Pluto's route also means its travels have been crossing the other planets out in Kuiper. While this means that running into a thing is close to nil, it means that there might be some contact going forward which could alter its path. Even at its small size, Pluto still gives us new insights to learn throughout solar system, including the way the planets move in conjunction with their neighbors and planets. So how could that even happen? Could they crash? Well, Pluto got kicked out of the Planet Club, partly cause its path around the Sun is strange, but now experts are saying it gets super close to Neptune. Tyson and that MIT guy Kaku are worried they might smash into each other, which could be bad news for Earth. Pluto takes like 248 years to go around the Sun once, so no one's even seen it make a full trip since we found it back in the 30s. Plus, it doesn't go around the Sun in a circle like the other planets. It's more like an oval, and it's tilted way up compared to everyone else. Here's the crazy thing: for about 20 years of its trip, Pluto's actually closer to the Sun than Neptune. So why haven't they hit each other yet? Other planets' gravity keeps them apart. When they figured out Pluto's orbit, it was weird cause it didn't line up with the other planets and it crosses Neptune's path. The thing with Pluto, Neptune, and the Sun is about figuring out how their gravity affects each other. It's hard to guess how they'll move. What keeps them from crashing? Something called alpha libration. When Pluto crosses Neptune's path, it's far away from Neptune. Also, Pluto moves up and down, so when it's closest to Neptune, it's way above Neptune's path. There's also something called the VZK sway. It's like the pulling and pushing between Pluto, Neptune, and the Sun, which keeps Pluto moving smoothly. So even though it looks wild, there are rules that keep everything in check. Back in the 80s, computer guesses showed Pluto's orbits kind of random, and even a tiny change could make a huge difference over millions of years. But even though Pluto's orbit's weird, it stays stable. Giant planets like Neptune, Jupiter, and Saturn mess with Pluto's path. For every one trip Pluto makes, Neptune makes 3. This keeps Pluto steady. Jupiter's gravity is strong enough to keep Pluto safe for billions of years, so Neptune, Jupiter, and Saturn help Pluto to keeps going without bumping into stuff. Without these gravity things, everything would be a mess. Planets would crash or get thrown out of the solar system knowing Pluto could hit Neptune helps us get how everything moves around our solar system. Pluto shows that even orbits that look unstable can stay steady because of gravity and how things move, and we need to keep watching to understand all of this. Space is weird and Pluto's orbit is a great example. Even a small change in where Pluto is could change where it goes in the future. Pluto's surface is mix of ice rock and other stuff. The New Horizons mission that flew by Pluto in 2015 showed us it's got plains, mountains, and valleys. The heart-shaped plain is mostly nitrogen ice with ice shelves and glaciers, so Pluto might still be changing even though it's far from the Sun and cold. Pluto's atmosphere is nitrogen with a bit of other stuff. It's thin but changes with the seasons. When Pluto's closer to the Sun, the atmosphere gets bigger, and when it's farther away, it shrinks. Pluto's big moon Charon makes things even more complicated. Charon's about half the size of Pluto, so they both go around a spot in space between them. This affects how things move in that area. The Kuiper Belt is a place beyond Neptune with icy stuff. Pluto's orbit helps us understand how these things formed. Understanding Pluto helps us get how the solar system changed over time. Gravity from Jupiter and Neptune can change where these smaller bodies go, leading to crashes or getting thrown out of the solar system. By learning about this, we can spot patterns in the universe. Plus, Pluto makes us think about what it means to be a planet. Taking away Pluto's planet status was a big debate. So Pluto and Neptune show us how crazy the universe is, and that we can learn more by checking things out. We need to know how gravity makes Pluto act the way it does out in the solar system. Even though Pluto's orbit looks like a mess, that's the reason it stays steady despite the chaos. One thing about Pluto and Neptune is that their orbits stay steady because they have a special relationship where Neptune goes around the Sun 3 times for every 2 times Pluto does. This keeps them from hitting each other even though their paths cross. This relationship is because of gravity. They pull on each other so that they stay in sync over time. The Kuiper Belt where Pluto hangs out has other objects that do the same thing with Neptune. These are called Plutinos. Planets moving around also helped make Pluto's orbit how it is now. When giants like Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune moved around in the early solar system, they changed the paths of smaller things. Neptune probably made space for Pluto to be where it is now. Pluto crosses paths with other things in the Kuiper Belt sometimes, but it's not likely to crash into them because of Neptune. This could change Pluto's orbit a little bit over time. Even if Pluto is small and far away, it tells us some valuable information about the solar system and how things move around. Neil deGrasse Tyson and others brought Pluto back into focus, saying it might briefly cross Neptune's path. Pluto, now a dwarf planet because of its odd orbit, is concerning. Pluto takes 248 years to orbit the Sun, and its path is strangely tilted at 17 degrees, making it unique. For 20 years it gets closer to the Sun than Neptune. The reason Pluto doesn't hit Neptune involves gravity. Pluto's orbit crosses Neptune's, but experts say a phenomenon called alpha libration keeps them separate. When Pluto crosses Neptune's orbit, it's about 90 degrees away. Extension libration means Pluto is above other planets' paths, adding safety. VZK swaying explains Pluto's unusual yet consistent orbit. Simulations show Pluto's orbit is chaotic, where small changes could cause big shifts over time. Jupiter and Saturn's gravity help keep Pluto steady, maintaining balance in our solar system. Pluto's odd orbit shows how space mechanics can create stability through gravity. Pluto's surface, examined by the Kuiper Belt Horizon mission, has ice fields, mountains, and valleys like the heart-shaped Sputnik plum, suggesting Geological activity. Its thin atmosphere changes with its orbit, and its moon Charon adds to the gravity in the region. Pluto's path offers clues about the solar system's development. Pluto might collide with Neptune in the future. Interactions can shift orbits, so studying Pluto helps us understand our solar system. Pluto and Neptune have a 3:2 orbital resonance, meaning for every 3 Neptune orbits Pluto makes 2. This keeps them from colliding. Neptune's gravity plays a role, and many bodies in the Kuiper Belt also have a similar resonance with Neptune, meaning planetary migration where planets move over millions of years, likely also shaped Pluto's path. Interactions with other objects could cause minor shifts in Pluto's path. Its unique orbit helps us learn about the solar